If you ask me, the South Carolina Gamecocks had the best defense in all of college football last year. We've talked about a number of the players that were major contributors on this team that are going to be high draft prospects. Guys like Nicky Menwari, Kyle Kennard, and tjsanders all had monster seasons for South Carolina, but after the Senior Bowl, a different Gamecocks player is really starting to climb up draft boards, and that is linebacker Demetriusknight. Knight was an absolute stud for South Carolina this past season, and he showed some really great traits at the Senior Bowl. In a weaker linebacker group, how high could we see Knight taken in the 2025 NFL Draft? That is what we will be going over in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, which I'll leave linked down in the description below. There, you guys will find my full, in-depth draft guide and big board, with over 500 prospects and counting. It is one of the best resources on the market, and if you want to help support this channel, it's only $5 a month. Leave a comment and let me know which prospects you guys would like to see in a future video, and without further ado, let's take a closer look at Demetriusknight. Knight is a 6th-year senior and has really played a little bit of everywhere throughout his college career. He started with Georgia Tech, where he played 3 seasons but was dismissed after just 4 games with the program in 2022. He played his 2023 season with the Charlotte 49ers, where I felt like he was really good. He had 61 tackles, 7 pressures, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and also had 28 run stops. He then entered the portal again, where he ended up with South Carolina. He finished the year with 64 tackles, 12 pressures, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, 2 forced fumbles, and 29 run stops, and was a major contributor for an elite South Carolina defense. And after a successful Senior Bowl, Knight could really work his way into the top 100 of this draft class. The first thing that really stands out with Knight is his frame. Knight looks like a bowling ball in the best way possible. He's 6'1", 246 pounds, and has a very unique build for a modern day linebacker. He's got a good frame, but I also think he has the ideal length for the position, with 33¼ inch arms and an 80 3/8 inch wingspan, and in terms of frame, Knight has one of the more intriguing builds of any linebacker in the draft class. The area I was most impressed with when it came to Knight was his coverage abilities. He is a disciplined player in coverage, who I felt like showed some really nice stuff, particularly in zone. He read the quarterback's eyes well, and he had a first step to really close gaps and make a play on the football, and the grades back it up. He had a 91.9 coverage grade in 2023 and a 74.7 coverage grade in 2024, both of which are well above average for the linebacker position. He has good ball skills, and I think he possesses really good instincts from the linebacker spot that could make him a really nice coverage player in the NFL. Knight is a really physical player. He hits hard, and he definitely plays with an old school mentality. I think he has a mean streak in him, and you can tell on tape he just loves hitting people and driving them into the ground. That physicality shows up as a block shedder as well, where I thought he was really solid. He has violent hands and did a good job of shedding blockers and getting into the backfield, particularly in run defense, which I think is his best area of his game. He's a really good run defender who dissects run plays and has the quickness to come downhill and react. I think the area I'm most concerned about with Knight is his athleticism. I know this is a major talking point and a lot of people see it differently, but I'm just not convinced he's an elite athlete. In a straight line, Knight is super solid. He has good initial bursts, has good quickness, and can close quickly. When dialed up as a blitzer, I thought he had really good speed to get into the backfield. However, I think he's very limited otherwise. His change of direction leaves much to be desired, and on top of that, I think he has very underwhelming lateral quickness. He is super stiff in his lower half, And I just don't love that from him, and I worry about his athletic upside at the next level as a result. The other area I'm not fully convinced of is Knight's tackling technique. He is a bit of an arms tackler, and while that's fine, it seems to be on a week-to-week thing with consistency. There are some weeks where he looks flat out dominant, and other weeks where he just struggles to wrap up. Overall, his tackling is good, but I do think he could improve the technique and improve the consistency in which he wraps up with. Demetrius Knight is a player who is really starting to climb draft boards, and it's easy to see why. He's a physical player who can cover and has some absolutely elite tools in terms of his size. However, I worry about his athleticism and if the lack of elite hip flexibility and lateral quickness holds him back at the next level. And on top of that, he will be turning 25 before the start of his rookie season. So I do worry about what his ceiling is at the next level. Those are all questions we've got to ask about Demetrius Knight, but I still think he's a really good player, and he's a top 100 player on my board. He's my number 5 linebacker in the draft class, and my number 98 overall prospect. In terms of a scheme fit, I think Knight works best as an inside linebacker in really any scheme. With his ability to get off blocks, get into the backfield as a blitzer, I think he could be really a nice Sam linebacker in a 4-3 defense, but I think in either an odd or even front, you can play Knight on the inside and he's going to have success with his skill set, particularly in coverage. My player comparison for Demetrius Knight is Jacksonville Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd. Once upon a time, Lloyd was a top 15 player in the class for me. I think Knight has some of those same tools in terms of aggression, coverage upside, and physicality. They both also had incredible size and length, but were a little bit stiff in their lower half. Lloyd had a breakout year in 2024, and I think he's quietly one of the more underrated players in the league, and I think Knight could develop into something really similar at the next level. Demetrius Knight is a disruptor. When he gets his head down, he can make some major impact plays in both coverage and as a run defender. He's a really solid player who I think could be a very good pro, and ultimately, I believe that Demetrius Knight will be a top 100 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.